Hey, welcome in. We're excited. Everybody should be excited. Really, college basketball is here. It is here to stay. And, of course, the man over my right or left shoulder, I don't know. I never really understood right or left there. I'm just going to say the man over my shoulder needs no introduction. Mr. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com, joins me. We've done this, guys, with college football, the NFL, and now with college basketball here. We thought, what better time to start a show called the Happy Hour Tip-Off, where we're going to try and give you guys as much information as humanly possible, valuable information when it comes to profiting on the college basketball season. And, Ralph, I guess the first thing it starts is by understanding at wagertalk.com, you're the $2 damn handicapper tonight, aren't you?
You know, I new head coach sheets. They know the effort that I put in studying now. It's changed. We used to use Ken Palm to try to beat Vegas. Well, now Ken Palm has grown so much that Vegas numbers are basically whatever the Ken Palm numbers were. So now we're handicapping against Ken Palm, looking at differences at teams where I have a number different than they have, therefore finding value against Vegas. So I do like this early part of the season quite a bit. In fact, I have 5 plays which I have for sale for my customers. We decided to just do a blowout special. All 5 plays are available as part of the $2 package, normally a $30 one-day all access. So you are getting my 5 college basketball plays. I have 4 sides, 1 total. All of those tip at 4 p.m. Eastern or later. Wagertalk.com. $2.
All right, let's put it up there. That's it, guys. Wagertalk.com. That is where you go. And, of course, you can always reach Ralph at CalSportsLV on Twitter. Always great information that he's posting there. You can always hit me up at Joe Raineri. But more importantly, all the information you will ever need to be able to profit this college basketball season is at wagertalk.com. And, Ralph, you got your plays up there. You are ready to go. It is day 1 in college basketball. But let's talk a little bit about some of these marquee matchups tonight. Is there any better way to start college hoop season than give me some Kansas, give me some Duke, give me some Kentucky, give me some, Michigan State. And, oh, by the way, and this was something I had talked about earlier, I wish the books would let us know when they're at neutral sites, when they're at home, when they're not. Like a little N or something next to the name would be nice. So if people who don't know all of a sudden look at a game and go, oh, Duke must be home. Well, no, they're at Madison Square Garden, Ralph, especially early on in the year.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I'll mention it to some guys here. And obviously in the schedule, it's written in there. But, yeah, if you don't have a schedule handy, we'll see. I'll throw that out and get some reaction from some guys. There's, Teddy and I on the Sports Grid Wager Talk show. We bring in we have Arthur DeCesar from The Link on Mondays. We have a Superbook guy on Thursdays. And, I'll see what their response is, why they don't. It's not going to hurt to make it easier for the betting customer.
Well, and it's also, I think you'll agree, neutral site games early on in the season are different than teams playing at home because both teams at that particular point, lighting is different, dimension, depth everything is different on a neutral court as opposed to somebody playing at home.
Yeah, well, these teams are used to playing where they play tonight. But, yeah, we're going to talk about St. Mary's, Wisconsin. They're playing in South Dakota. God knows why. I would view if it were in Vegas here, I would go watch St. Mary's and Wisconsin play. But to have those two teams, and I don't know if you could call St. Mary's a blue blood, but for the last decade, if you're a college basketball fan, they've been a top 20-plus team almost every year. So I think you could almost call them a this decade blue blood. So to see them playing in South Dakota, the tribe there must have had a hell of a lot of money to get those two to come up there and open the college basketball season in front of those. Are they South Dakotians? I'm not sure. I don't want to get called out.
Yeah, I know nobody's from South Dakota, so I'm sure they're from someplace else anyway. All right, Ralph, let's start Duke, Kansas. Let's Krzyzewski, what do you need? Bill Self, here they go. Duke doesn't have Zion, doesn't have R.J. Barrett. Doesn't have Cam Reddish. They're all gone. So what are we looking at here between Duke and Kansas this year?
Joe, I tweeted out these numbers on the games before anyone opened them, and I made this game pick. Duke actually opened up a 4-point favorite in some places, and Kansas is now the favorite. We've seen a 6-point line move. Now, a 6-point line move the first day of college basketball does not equate to a 6-point even conference game moving. They're moving on air, and as soon as they get any money, they're moving it. But you know, the unique thing about when you look at Kansas and Duke this year, Kansas returns 3 starters, Duke returns 1, and you think, well, Kansas has a huge edge. But in the Wager Talk basketball guide I also do percentage of minutes returning. Kansas returns 55% of their minutes. Duke returns 45. So, yes, you're missing 3 guys that are playing in the NBA, but it's not the losses they had last year. They still have point guard True Jones back, and they have 2 senior captains in White and Delore. So you're going to have 3 captains on your team, the same 3 captains as last year, now being on the court this year. So the Duke fall off is not as much as you would expect. You know, this is a game that I don't see value on either side. If I had to pick a lean, it would be on the over.
Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com, $2 capper of the day, guys. If you're looking, he's got 5 up there, in fact, ready to rock and roll, loaded for tonight, opening night, college basketball season. All you got to do is get to wagertalk.com. $2 right now. You can get Ralph's play. He's ready to go. And like he said, no value in some of these marquee matchups, which I guess if you're new to college basketball, Ralph, too, betting on it, yeah, the books know that that the public, they generally love, ooh, it's Duke, ooh, it's Kentucky, or ooh, it's Michigan State, the second game in Madison Square Garden after Duke and Kansas. So they love themselves, them blue bloods, them favorites, and tonight, I think the books know that. They got Michigan State priced pretty interestingly here.
They do. I made Michigan State 4.5, and it opened up 1, and it's 3. Even some 3.5s have popped. So there's still, I think there's still room to go. But you know, when I made my line, people have to understand the difference. I made the line where I thought Vegas would make the line and get equal money on both actions. So obviously, I was a little bit off. When I look at Michigan State, I think they're going to be the best team in the country. But Josh Langford's not playing. He missed 27 games last season. If he is healthy and playing to the level we know he can play with, then I think Michigan State is the best team. In this game tonight, you know, Michigan State always plays bigger than they look. You know, back to the Draymond Green days and guys that rebound that are much smaller. But Kentucky has a significant size edge. I mean, you have Montgomery at power forward at 6'10". You have Richards at center at 6'11". Michigan State answers with Henry and Tillman 6'6" and 6'8". So I think Kentucky can pack it in. I think we're going to see a slower paced game. Whereas, you know, I look at the under. But just giving you a technical standpoint from an angle, when Michigan State's on the road as a dog or a favorite up to 5, they've actually gone 22-8 to the over. So while I lean under, more games have gone over than not. And when Michigan State's on the road in those same parameters of as a dog or as a favorite up to 5, they are 19-11 against the spread. So again, 2 great games. I am not betting either. I don't find there's value in either. And when you're handicapping college basketball, it's so much different than college football. College football, you lose your opener, that could kill your hopes for the national title game. You lose this game in college basketball, it means nothing. Kentucky's lost the last 2 years. They weren't even phased. He said, I just want to get my kids ready to play in March. So one loss means not one thing to these guys. So you have to remember that a lesser team, every win is important. When you're a top 20 blue blood and you know you're making the tournament and you know that all you want to do is be playing your best basketball in March, you can approach November much differently. Interesting.
To Ralph's point, too, guys, the line opened up total 138.5. It got about 70% of the bets, yet it dropped for a little while there. 137.5, I'm seeing 138, depending on the book that you guys are looking at, and, of course, depending on what side of the country that you are on. So 32% of the tickets, and yet we got the line moving, means probably some of those bigger bets, Ralph, they're back in the under as well in this game.
It is, Joe. And that's a great point you bring up. When we're talking about the happy hour tip-off show, we want it to be our viewer shows. We really want to go through and ask people what they want. Reach out to you on Twitter. Reach out to me on Twitter. Are they interested in the information you just said? Percentage of bets for sides and totals. Do they want to know which ones are the highest monies that are getting the most monies? Do they want to know what are the biggest line moves? Do they want us to view the TV games, or do they want us to give the best bets? Maybe those nondescript games where we find there's value. Technical plays, situational plays, sandwich spots, power rating plays, revenge games, whatever you guys come up with that you think you want in a structured setting where we could come up with these plays each day, reach out to me or reach out to Joe. We want this to be your show. We're going to do another beta test on Friday, and then we'll work out a formula for next week. And hell, we'll probably change it 3 or 4 more times just to try to get it to be the show you guys want to watch.
Absolutely. Whatever information you think helps you, the stuff that you're looking for, guys, by all means, hit us up on Twitter at CalSportsLV for Ralph, at Joe Raineri. You guys can find me there. Just DM us. Tell us, hey, listen, I would really like this. This is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. And believe you me, we'll provide it for you guys. I promise you that. We'll get you everything you need in order to make it a profitable college basketball season. Now, Ralph, you did mention Wisconsin St. Mary's in South Dakota a little bit earlier. Wow, still trying to get over that South Dakota. Talk to me about this game. How are you looking at this?
I made the power rating a little higher than this. I made St. Mary's 6. And you look at the Gales, they returned 9 of their top 10 starters. They didn't think they were going to get their center back. He got a 6th year. They have a transfer from Cincinnati who they weren't expecting, who just got approved 2 weeks ago. This team is loaded for bear. They are a quality team. If you look, they didn't make the 247 rankings. In my college basketball guide, I put the 247 rankings, and I think there's 183 out of the 353 teams that got a player that was ranked. Well, they only had 2 open spots, and who did they sign? Who do you think? 2 20-year-old Australians that were on the U21 team. And those are kids that are coming to play that already played international basketball. So don't be afraid of the St. Mary's team. Here's the reason I didn't play it, though. Wisconsin has a chip on their shoulder. They're not ranked. St. Mary's is. Wisconsin's a dog. They don't think they should ever be a dog to St. Mary's. They're getting a lot of flack for losing Hap. They're not going to have enough scoring. That's what everyone says. This is going to be a brutal, low-scoring game. I do lean with the under, Joe. There's 353 teams. Last year, as far as tempo goes, these teams were 331 and 348, 2 of the slowest paced teams. I think if this game were in the mid-December, it would probably be 7 or 8 points less than this. An angle as well. St. Mary's, when they're on the road or away from home, they're 27, 62, and 2. They're 30.3% to the over and 69.7% to the under. Last year, a smaller sample size, 3 and 7 over under in those 10 games away from home. So interesting game. You're talking about a weird setting in South Dakota, weird shooting. We have to mention, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the 3-point line getting moved back. It's getting moved back 6.3% back to internationals. That's going to affect some 3-point shooting as well. So I'm sure scoring will be down. How much, we're going to have to wait to see after a couple games are played on what the effect really is.
I think we have a clock change too, don't we? It could affect the scoring as well. I think we got a 10-second difference
on an offensive rebound.
Yeah.
So, more often than not, when a team gets an offensive rebound, they're going to put it right back up. Very rarely do they do the old Princeton style, put it back out front and rerun their offense.
Yep, it's so true.
if you get an offensive rebound, it doesn't reset to 30, it resets to 20 seconds.
Right. So there you go. And, well, listen, anything that we can do to create more scoring, college is even getting into the act. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com, guys. That is where you can find him very simply. wagertalk.com. There it is. Ralph happens to be the $2 capper of the day here at Wager Talk, which means he's got his games up. He's got an opportunity. If you are new to college basketball handicapping and you'd like to play a couple of games here tonight and dip your big toe in it, well, Ralph would definitely be the guy that you want to follow over at wagertalk.com. And for $2, Ralph, you got your plays ready to rock and roll. And you mentioned you got a couple that really stuck out to you here tonight on the card.
We did. I have one angle, and then we'll go into one of my best bets. Here's just an angle, and I know a lot of guys love the angles, and I want to forewarn our customers and our viewers. We talk about angles, we talk about home favorites and over-unders. When you're going from one season to the next, be very careful that the team's playing the same style. I've used over-under angles today, and all the teams that we've used over-under angles that I've talked about have the same coaches back. Mm-hmm. So you can expect that same style. One last technical play of the day, Fordham. Jeff Neubauer has been their head coach. He's been there. This is his 4th year, so you expect the same style. When Fordham is a home favorite, they've gone 3-20-1 over under. So 24 games, their last 24 games as a home favorite, 3 overs, 20 unders, and 1 push.
Wow. See, that's the kind of information, guys. That's the kind of stuff that helps you make some decisions. But again, it's important to understand, not the end all be all. And this is one of the biggest confusing things, and it gets because there's so much data associated, Ralph, with college basketball. There's so many different ways to go at it. Some people get so enamored in a trend or a statistic that they go, well, I've got to play it. But there is nothing, no trend or angle you can come up with that is the end-all, be-all, is there?
There isn't. You're looking at it, and I can find any trend. There's no question. You give me any game, I could find multiple trends on one team, multiple trends on the other team. If you're data mining, you can find numbers to fit the mold. Yep. What you want to do is you want to weigh the good angles. You want to weigh the bad angles. You want to weigh the situation you're in. You want to weigh the matchups you're in. You want to be a balanced handicapper, situational, technical, matchup handicapping. And balance those 3 out, positives and negatives. When you have many more positives than negatives, it becomes a play like this best bet I want to mention. This is one of my 5 plays. So if you go there and you spend the $2, you are going to get this play. And again, it's not a marquee game. You're not going to be able to watch it, but there's value. Game 631. It's UT Rio Grande Valley, or UTRGV. Very few people know about the WAC. The WAC is an excellent basketball conference. New Mexico State was a top 25 team last year. You have Grand Canyon, Cal Baptist, a first-year team that moved up from Division II, and this team. This team in the last 3 years under their head coach has gone from 10 to 15 to 20 wins under head coach Hill. This is a team that went 8-7 straight up on the road. They went 11-2 ATS as an away dog. This is a team that plays pressure defense. They were 4th in the NCAA in turnovers forced per game. They have a point guard in Javon Levy, who was up for Defensive Player of the Year. He is dynamic. That team is going to South Dakota State to playing a team that lost Mike Dahm, a guy that could have played in the NBA, went overseas. They lost 4 of their 5 starters. They lost their head coach to UNLV. They are starting over. They only returned 30% of their minutes to be playing a well-seasoned, pressured defense. UT Rio Grande Valley is getting 5 against South Dakota State. That game tips off at 8 p.m., and that's the type of write-ups you're going to get if you're part of the Cal Sports customer base.
There you go. Total 152.5 there, hanging around that number for sure. And like Ralph said, getting 5 there. Getting 5. What is with South Dakota today? Like, we can't get out of South Dakota, Ralph.
Yeah, well, my bad picking that out of the 5 games, right? So.
We love South Dakota. My word. All right, so the bottom line is, guys, you got to get to wagertalk.com, and you also give us the feedback. Tell us what will make this. What information can we provide you guys in order to be able to make this experience? How do we help you? How can we show you, and what can we show you in order to answer those questions when it comes to handicapping college basketball? Because, Ralph, from now until March, and then it gets really crazy, but from now until March, there are some people that are going to look at college basketball and go, I don't know how to get into it. But there's nothing to be intimidated. There are a lot of games, so it will get a little bit overwhelming if you're not careful.
Joe, I got a serious question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the nickname of South Dakota?
God, that's a good question. What is it?
The Mount Rushmore State.
Oh, stop it. Really? Is that where it was? I thought that was. I always think that's in North Dakota. Always think that's in North Dakota. Damn it, South Dakota. I know it's a couple of dudes. There are pipelines and everything else going on in there.
The Black Hills of South Dakota.
That's right. Okay, so the Mount Rushmores. Could they get any? How cliche is that? Come up with something better than that.
Hey, Joe, do you have a best bet for our guys today?
I do, Ralph. As a matter of fact, I got to write that down. South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, because I'm going to do that. Ralph, by the way, guys, taught me how to say Nevada. For about a year last year, while Ralph and I were doing shows, I kept saying Nevada. And for a year, Ralph would correct me every damn show to tell me it was Nevada. And now I find myself correcting everybody, Ralph. So thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. I do have a game tonight. I'm looking Mo Valley versus the Atlantic 10, Ralph. How is this? How about Bradley, the Bradley Braves? Find themselves in a pretty unique situation this year because for the first time, there's expectations on this team, not where they are in an underdog role, which is where they have been over the last couple of years. In fact, last year, Ralph, as a dog, 12-6 against the number. But, man, they got some optimism this year. They should anyway. They've got, I believe, 4 of the 5 starters from last year that took Michigan State to the wall there in the NCAA championships in the tournament. This team can play some defense. This team has got some experience. And, yeah, this team can certainly shoot the 3 ball going up against the St. Joe's, who to say they're a team in transition I think is maybe I'm being nice. Transition's a good word. But they lost, of course, Phil Martelli, longtime St. Joe's coach, right? He's gone. Bunch of players transferred. 3 out of the top 4 of their scorers last year are all gone. So St. Joe's is transitioning into a new era there, new coach, new philosophy, new everything at St. Joe's. It's a bit of a mismatch over here, so I don't think a team that averaged 70 points last year like St. Joe's going up against a Bradley Braves team that loves to play some defense, usually keeps people under 65 points. The first half totals at 69, and I just don't see first game back at home, new coach, new players. I don't see an awful lot of scoring happening here in the first half, Ralph. So I'm going under the first half, 69, in the Bradley taking on the St. Joe's matchup at 7 o'clock Eastern time.
You know, I'll just look at the guide. I'm looking up the guide from Bradley, and, you know, at a glance, I could see, you know, their final RPI last year was 161. Mm-hmm. They were voted number 2 in their media for preseason. So Missouri State got more points than them, but they are picked. Missouri Valley, for those that don't know, is a damn good basketball conference. And they actually got 5 first-place votes as well for Bradley. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at points per game in the guide. Like you said, Bradley on the season allowed 65.5 points per game. So right up where your numbers were, Joe. So let's start off tonight with a couple of winners, and looking forward to another show Friday and getting the feedback from our viewers because it's their show.
That's right. Whatever you got, whatever we can provide for you guys, whatever information that you want, hit us up here at Cal Sports LV on Twitter, at Joe Raineri. Send us your messages. We'll do this again on Friday, guys. Look for it. Like the page, like the videos, all of that good stuff there. But whatever you do, make sure you head over to wagertalk.com. Take advantage of the $2 capper of the day. Your man, Ralph Michaels, right here at wagertalk.com. Ralph, it's going to be another fun college basketball season, brother. Looking forward to it. Thank you for the time. Good luck here tonight, man, and we'll talk again on Friday.
Gotta love college basketball. Talk to you Friday, Joe.
Amen, brother.